Kehr Welt Heinz. That's what the Lubavitcher Rebbe said. And it means upend the world today. And we can do that by someone doing something for God. The entire world is currently dictated by its animalistic passions. But one act can change all that. One act can turn this world into a world dictated by its godly passion, of the godly soul, which each and every one of us has. May the act that turns the world right side up happen today. This is Rabbi Shmuel Y. Paulin, and I want to welcome you to the very first edition of Judaism for Gentiles. This is the podcast where we give the Gentile what he needs to know about Judaism. We have a ton of great content in store for you, and I think you'll find it to be as deep as it is practical. Now I'm going to give you the first speech I give to Gentiles when they want to know what their role should be in the eyes of Judaism. And to do that, I need to introduce you to the oldest religion in the world. Many people are not aware that Noahidism, that may be a new word for you, Noahidism is the oldest religion in the world. Before Christianity and before Islam, and even before Judaism, there was only one doctrine, Noahidism. 7 commandments for all mankind given to Adam and Noah, and repeated by Moses on Mount Sinai at the giving of the Bible. Even though they are ancient, they are still in force today. The Bible is filled with many detailed commandments for Jews, but the rest of us, the Gentiles, need only follow these 7 commandments to fulfill our mission in this world and reap the rewards of the next world. Like all of God's commandments, the commandments are not given to stifle or restrict us. They're here to give us a chance to connect with God in a way we otherwise couldn't. We all know it's hard work to pick out a gift for a loved one. Some might call it a chore, but we also know that if it were easy to pick out a gift for a loved one, it wouldn't mean as much. The commandments, similarly, can be a challenge to follow at times. But that's what makes them the most meaningful gift we can give to God for all He does for us. But there's something special about these 7 laws specifically. Without a strong foundation, no building can stand. The Noahide laws are the foundation on which to build a society and on which to build your life. Study history. Every society that collapsed first had a collapse of its value system. In any secular system, the values blow in the wind at the whims of the people. Stalins and Hitlers and Maos can at any time arise, sweep away the old priorities, and destroy everything. God gave the remedy for this in advance. He said, here are 7 laws. They are set in stone forever. And if you just follow them, your society will endure. And it actually works. These commandments also form the bedrock of the essential partnership between Jews, Judaism, and Gentiles, Noahidism. Contrary to popular belief, both nations are chosen by God. Each is chosen for a different purpose, and we're all headed towards one goal, a better, more godly world. We're players that play different positions, but we're all on the same team. When we each fulfill our own commandments, all in worship of one God, humanity starts to unite. That will ultimately usher in the age of peace and goodness, i.e. the Messianic era. When people ask us what religion they should be, our response is always, just be yourself. Noah is the grandfather of us all, so there's no baptism needed, there's no rituals needed. Just by being born, you are already a child of Noah, i.e. a Noahide. If you continue to keep Noah's legacy by observing these commandments, you simply become a pious Noahide. That's why Noahidism is a religion in quotes only. Because it isn't really a religion, it's who you are. But why focus on Noah of all people? It's because his history, reminds us that no matter how bleak things may look, if we all get together and realize that we're all in the same boat, we will not only survive, we will make the world bloom anew. That's why a Noahid's focus is charity. We're one family. So if someone is suffering anywhere, that's not just somebody, that's my brother. And Cain was wrong. We are all our brothers and sisters' keepers. Here are the 7 Noahide laws. Number 1, do not worship idols. If we all believe in different things, somebody is wrong. When we all see the one real truth together, we are united. There is only one God, and that God is purely one. Number 2, do not curse God. One can trace every problem in the world to a lack of respect for God. Number 3, do not take a limb off of a live animal. Care for others more than yourself, including animals. To hurt any being to satisfy your own desires is not just bad, it's the root of all evil. Number 4, refrain from sexual immorality. Animalistic drives are not here to be indulged, but to be mastered and channeled into pure, happy, and long-lasting relationships. Number 5, do not steal. Without integrity, society can't function properly, and neither can we. Number 6, do not murder. The sages say to destroy a person is to destroy an entire world. Number 7, establish Noahide courts of justice. We may not be ready for Noahide courts just yet, but at least in the U.S., the Noahide laws have received some official recognition. See H.J. Res. 104 to designate March 26, 1991 as Education Day in the USA. It was an enrolled bill, final as passed by both House and Senate, and it included the Noahide laws. Help move your country in the right direction by simply letting your leaders know that this code exists. Tell them that you think in this crazy world, a return to these basic biblical principles that have lasted throughout the ages may provide some sanity. So we know now that a Gentile is and always was meant to embrace Noahidism and the 7 Noahide laws. And this is all he needs to make it free and clear into the next world. A Noahide will get all the rewards of heaven and none of the punishments of hell. But there's still more demanded of the non-Jew. Ways that he should live his life on a day-to-day basis. What he stands for, what he fights for. Who is the righteous Gentile in the eyes of Judaism? Let's get into it. And you should know that what we're about to say is fodder for art. These are the messages that should be coming across through art, music, and theater in America and around the world. Unfortunately, they currently are not. But may this podcast be the impetus for Hollywood to change its ways, to produce God-driven art. The first thing you need to know is that the righteous Gentile is counterculture. Society in general at this time believes that we should follow our animalistic passions. They should be respected, they should become rights, and they are the way to live your life. That's its view on abortion, that's its view on homosexuality, that's its view on transgenderism, that's its view on virtually every issue. If you feel it, and those feelings are coming from the animalistic soul, you do it. It becomes a right, and it becomes sanctioned. Unfortunately for society, they do not realize that we have 2 impulses in our bodies. We have an animal soul and a godly soul. And at this time, it is the animal soul that is most dominant in most people. And that soul is fueled by the evil inclination. So our passions, our natural inclinations, are generally those coming from the evil inclination. While the world is accepting and being fueled by their passions, they're being fueled by the evil inclination. And those of us who want to, so to speak, run our car on the godly soul need to fight those passions, master them, channel them. We don't just go with the flow. We're actually in a war with our passions. As it says in Hasidic philosophy, the time of prayer is a time of war. And just like with exercise, fighting the resistance makes those muscles stronger, so too spiritually. Fighting the animal soul makes the godly soul stronger and makes us stronger in general as a person. Going with the resistance actually makes you more weak and more lazy and more addicted. Now, people might ask, If I'm not acting out my passions, then I'm not having a good time. Then I'm having a boring life. I'm going to live boringly, like those religious people. That's not what I want. So all I can say to that is, it may be difficult, but do it. Meet up with Hasidic Jews who follow Hasidic philosophy, specifically Chabad Hasidic Jews. They have centers all around the world, and see the joy on their faces, and the joy on their children's faces, and the purity that they exude. They have wonderful, lush, exciting, filled with humor lives, and their divorce rate is a fraction of what it is in the rest of society. People fueled by the godly soul are having a good time. They're having a better time. They're staying further from addictions and compulsive disorders. They're having clean, pure fun. In truth, the godly soul has just as much passion as the animal soul. It's like light that's being blocked. It's waiting to shed its light, because the godly soul is within the animal soul. You just need to know how to access the godly soul, and that's what we're going to teach you how to do here on this podcast. Life is better on the light side of the fence. Join us. Another belief of the Noahide, the righteous Gentile, is we believe in joy at all times, even when repenting. That's a crowning philosophy of Hasidic Judaism. You can use the tools that I will give you throughout this podcast to break out of any depression. But joy is a must. If your church is preaching fire and brimstone and it's making you depressed, there's something wrong. The sermon should make you motivated. It should light a fire under your behind, but it should not make you depressed. To be depressed, according to Hasidic philosophy, is a sin, and maybe the greatest sin. Because we love joy so much, we love the people who bring joy. We love comedians, and we believe and we know from our Hasidic masters that comedians hold some of the highest places in heaven because of the joy that they bring. And you can bring joy to anyone at any time by paying them an honest, clean compliment. The righteous Gentile believes fervently in love of your fellow man. And that means getting your hands dirty. It may mean going to India, actually going there and feeding starving children. Or you give it carefully to an organization that you know will deliver it as it was given. And if you see a homeless person on the street, give to them. Open up your hands, open up your heart. And another aspect of love of your fellow man is forgiveness. It's very difficult to forgive, but that means the reward is greater. So take the plunge and just forgive that person that you can't forgive. You will feel so much better for it. And that also means charity at home, being generous with your own spouses, freely giving back rubs, cooking meals for each other. This charity that you do at home is just as important in the eyes of God as the charity that you do all the way across the world. But you should do both. We already hinted to this earlier in the audio, but the righteous Gentile believes in revelation. There was a revelation of God 3,000 years ago to 3 million people, 600,000 people between the ages of 20 and 60. God revealed himself to an entire nation, the Jewish people. The Jewish people became the witness nation. This is an historical fact. There is no other religion on earth that claims mass revelation. But when the witnesses number in the 3 million, it cannot be debunked. It is well an established fact that George Washington was the first president of the United States. As many witnesses as there was to that, there are far more witnesses to this. And we believe that we must set up our societies based on that revelation, because that's the time when God actually showed up. The creator of the world actually showed up and told us what he wants from us. And he is omniscient. He is all-knowing. He knows each one of us, and he knows what will harmonize us. So we must build our societies according to that revelation, based on Sinai, because that's the only thing that's real, and that's the only thing that lasts. We need to cling to the 10 Commandments and cling to the 7 Noahide laws. That's all we have to stand up against tyrants and despots and megalomaniacs. We can stand up with the Torah as our foundation, the Bible. That's a solid foundation around which you can build a society. Once you abandon the Torah, there's no telling what can happen. Hitler, Stalin, Mao, millions upon millions of people killed. And nobody has the authority to stop them. Because we don't believe in the Torah, we don't believe in the Bible anymore. If we believe in the Bible, we can stand up against them. We can fight the fight in God's name. But in whose name will we fight the fight if not for God? We can fight and win. Another thing that the righteous Gentile believes, making from lemons lemonade. God wants a home in this physical world. That's the goal. A world which is full of evil. He wants a home here. So we have to turn darkness into light. There are going to be difficult situations. That is part of the plan. To turn darkness into light. To turn lemons into lemonade. Now, a big part of that is changing our perspective, changing the way we look at specific situations. We can look at them as chaos, we can look at them as random, or we can look at them as a part of the story that God is telling. And when we're familiar with that story, we begin to know why things happen and what will happen next. Unfortunately, most people view their lives as a pursuit of perfection, always wanting things to be better and better and better. But when it comes to art, the goal is not better. The goal is pathos. The goal is to make you feel something. There are ups and downs. If there weren't ups and downs, it wouldn't be art. Life is art. Life is a story. It is not random. Stay tuned for Intro to Judaism for Gentiles, Part 2.